Welcome to the Two Literal Podcast, where we're talking all things fantasy, romantasy, romance, and dark romance books. It could be the latest releases, timeless classics, book news, and anything in between. So grab a drink, some snacks, maybe a book, and if we're live, a phone to call in, because Two Literal is on. We are back with another episode. This is Two Literal. And this week we will be talking about, we're going back to Solaria.
My favorite place to be.
We just found out actually that they're expanding some more. How many books deep are we now that we've read?
Have you read all the novellas on the side?
I have not, but I know you have.
18-ish if you do all the novellas on the side.
Yeah.
And that's without 9 coming out in the start of this new series, and DP is incomplete.
So people know why this is such a big deal. These books are not, I have one, but that's 8.5 that I have the physical copy of. I'm rereading Zodiac Academy 8 right now because 9 is about to come out. And that book, I believe on the audiobook was like 36 hours long. Yeah. Wasn't it like a 1,000-page book?
Yeah, it was a long read. Did I tell you I took off for that? When that came out? When 8 came out? Not 8.5, but when 8 came out, I took off of work. Did I tell you that?
I did not know you took off work, but I do remember you got through it super fast and you were waiting on me. Yeah. So now that makes sense.
Yeah, I took off of work that I think I took like 2 days off. Because I thought I was going to be able to do it in one day, but it was so big that I couldn't. So I took off of work for that. And ironically, I'll be off for book 9.
Because you'll be yeah. So that'll be nice.
This next one, books 9, is 34 hours 26 minutes audiobooks.
Oh, so I normally listen to my audiobooks when I'm at work, and so that helps because that's just a 7-ish hour day. That's multiple days for me that I can be listening in the middle of doing other stuff that I'm doing. So I do like that they're longer, but I just wanted to mention that it's an endeavor, especially with how many books they have. Because I've read some books that may be, like we were talking about Afterlife last episode. Afterlife is 12 to 14 books, something like that. And just that part of the series. And then there are other spinoff series, just like in this world, that are 12 to 14 books. But those aren't as long. I think they're like maybe 500 pages. But these are, pretty extensive. So
that kind of reminds me when we were in the previous podcast, we were talking about one of the reasons we enjoyed the book so much is because, yeah, it's a series, but it's three hours of listening, know, per book versus where I think Zodiac Academy starts off somewhere 14, 15, and it stays that way for about 3-4 books. And then it increases.
It just explodes. Yeah. Once the stories actually start unfolding and stuff starts happening, it goes haywire. And then she has novellas in the middle of that. She writes books from other perspectives.
Spin-off series.
I keep saying they. Yeah. Because it's the sisters.
You didn't get it wrong with she.
Yeah. So yeah,
basically what we're saying to you is we're going to be talking about this series forever. It feels like. So we'll be taking breaks and incorporating the novellas where we see fit, but we will be here a while. If this is not your cup of tea, you might have to skip around us a couple of times. But I'm excited. I really like it.
I'm excited too. So this is book 2 of Ruthless Boys, which is chronologically the beginning of the story that we see in Solaria.
In the kingdom.
Yes, in that kingdom. And so this is Savage Fae. Last time we cut off where Elise was kidnapped by the group called the Black Card. I keep wanting to call him Darius because I'm reading
Gabriel.
Because I'm rereading 8. Gabriel saves her.
I was about to say, anytime you say Gabriel, I look at your wings behind you and I'm like, oh. But he saves her.
Elise, yes, Elise is kidnapped. Gabriel saves her because, again, he's a seer, so he actually saw it happening and he didn't think it's going to get there in time, but he ended up getting there in time. So this book picks up right after that, where we see her waking up and Gabriel ends up having an apartment in Alestria And he's actually on the side of one of the gangs. And so, yes, they end up having an argument. Elise runs. She ends up in a Rusty Nail, which is run by Ryder's gang, and runs into his true second in command. He has second command in school, but he has second command just in the neighborhood, is what the neighborhood, their side of town as well. Yeah. And so she runs into him, basically almost gets herself killed, but she calls Ryder to come save her. Ryder comes get her. They fall out. So some of the big things that happen, that was one. Another one was she ends up finding some more information from her brother, who is, who she's investigating his death. So she finds his phone and ends up starting to blackmail Gabriel because she finds out that her brother Gareth was actually doing the same thing. She doesn't know why yet, but finds out throughout the book, why that was going on. In all of that, Gabriel ends up finding out who Elise is and what she's there for and starts to help her out. And then we end the book. Obviously, her relationships with these 4 different men are developing. At the end of the book, we see Ryder actually bust in. I was trying to say that a better way. But he breaks in on her and Dante while they're pretty much on a date. And he was actually there to kill Felix, which is Dante's uncle. It turns out that Felix had wanted to hire him to kill Dante so that he could be the leader of the Skira clan. So that's where we end up, that Dante finds out Felix is not on his side. And basically we see a different war starting. But then another one kind of evolving because he can't believe the Ryder spared him. So that's where we are at the end of this book.
And I just want to point out, we didn't talk about my favorite person in the whole wide world, Leon. And during this book, Leon and Elise are, I feel like they're cementing their relationship a little bit more. Because after her run in with the black card and almost dying and being drugged, Gabriel, she tells the principal, and Gabriel kind of like, even though he saw everything, he still says, yeah, that didn't happen. And of course he has his reasons, which are unbeknownst to us at the moment, but he feels like somebody's chasing him and he's just trying to fly under the radar. But for Elise, it's more of a betrayal. So because of her run-in, she has gravitated towards Leon because the only other person it could be is Gabriel, but he's basically calling her a liar and saying, "Now you cracked out," for lack of a better term.
Oh, we didn't. We talked about that last time, that she was drugged, and that's how she ended up getting kidnapped. Yeah.
But Leon validates Elise, like, "Oh, I know you would never do that. Something must have really happened. Are you okay?" Leon is very intentional about making her feel like she's heard, in my opinion. Yeah. So, I agree. That's about where we ended up with things. What part of the book did you find most shocking? I know this is a reread, so what would you find most shocking? I feel like the ending is always kind of it. Like the
obviously the cliffhanger, but honestly, I think the more shocking part was the fact that Ryder let Dante go after everything, because obviously we see him evolving, but I still didn't think he had evolved that much. And I know that he cares about Elise, but
yeah, not this soon anyway. I want to say Ryder's evolution in all of the relationships, sans Gabriel, because I feel like they still don't have any interaction
connection,
of note. But for even like, I mean, we know because we read the series, and I mean, I think if we suggest that, other people will start to notice it too. Even the way he interacts with Leon is so unfazed by everything. So even like when he threatened him, at one point and sent him scary visions, Leon's like, "Ooh, this was scary. You like me?" Like, like, immediately after, like, "Oh, we gonna be friends." And I guess it'd be good to speak on the nature of her relationships with everybody. How would you characterize those?
So in the world of Fae and in the world of most supernaturals, honestly, there's the mating bond in some way, shape, or form. And I guess I don't get why her or the men like question certain things in certain pools, knowing that that's a factor in their history. Like, why do they not even think about that? Besides Gabriel, obviously, because he seems to have seen that in the future for them and keeps mentioning it. But it's hard for me to get why she feels like she'll never form an attachment with anybody, knowing that the mating bond is something that can be very real.
But it's supposed to be very rare too. And
Yeah.
you got to remember that they come from a place that had like a lot of like, for lack of a better term, pack mentality.
Yeah.
Because just, polyamory in werewolves isn't uncommon. It's a very common thing. Or even in Leon's case, because this book we meet Rory and Leon's dad, and Leon's dad has 3 wives, and it's never mentioned if they're mates or not. You know what I mean? Yes,
that's true.
They're married and stuff. So I think, because Elise has made it clear plenty of times to us and the other readers, that she's not a one man type of woman. Like that's just not where she's going to end up. So maybe at least for her, I think her thought process is more along the lines of like, no, I'm gonna build my own pack type thing. Like, you can't be with me if you can't share me.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's the mentality, because I don't know if she actually sees herself being in relationships with any of them. Some people are not relationship people, but some people are multiple relationship people, and that's where polyamory, I think, comes into it. But I don't even think she considers herself to be polyamorous. I think she considers herself to just be a loner and be having fun with these people. But obviously that's not, I mean, she even gets jealous at certain points, like with Leon and his Mindies and stuff like that. So
I love the Mindies. It's
crazy to me that she's not as self-aware. And I even feel like some of the guys, like even Ryder, who normally doesn't have emotions, has asked her multiple times to be his, knowing that that's not like outside of his normal. I don't get why she never kind of had that internal, like, why am I really feeling like this? You know what I'm saying?
I think part of it is like she's 18. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean that like just in a bad way, just she's young, so she doesn't know what to like.
What that looks like.
Yeah, I think the world is her oyster and she knows it. Like, she just kind of let it be what it is.
Do you have a part of this specific book that was like your biggest surprise or mind-blowing to you?
I don't know if it was mind-blowing, but it made me uber duper happy when it kind of was mind-blowing, but it's a smaller part.
Mm-hmm.
Elise playing along with Leon at the family dinner.
Yeah.
Like it's shocking that she agreed. Kind of noticed that he needed that.
Yeah.
She didn't give any pushback, which is so uncharacteristically her. But I think she knew, especially when Rory showed up, because Rory is very much, at least towards Leon, very much, I'm better than you. Like he's a one-upper.
And I understand, because we've read this series and we know what happens, but he is so different in Dartmoor Penitentiary when we see him again. And obviously things have happened to where, he's there, but it like connecting the person we meet now as young as he is to who he is in that book was weird for me.
I feel that way about Gabriel sometimes.
About who he is in Zodiac Academy? Yeah. Yeah.
Because he has it in Ruthless Boys, but it's not to the same extent. The way he moves about life currently in Ruthless Boys is very much nervous, scared, like, or maybe even scared might be the wrong word. Surviving, maybe, like that kind of stuff. In ZA, he's more sure of himself and a little bit more like scary, which I guess if you grew up in Alestria, you would be. So
Yeah. And I think what's kind of crazy about that is in Zodiac Academy, when we meet him, he still doesn't know who's after him. So all the things that he was worried about in this book, he still hadn't found out up until that point. He didn't
and
know
it
who he
could be an
was and
age
like any of
thing,
that.
kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, kind of like I mentioned with Elise. It's just everybody's young because, for lack of a better term, they're in college.
Yeah.
You know, so they're early adults.
Yeah.
They haven't had their powers for long. I mean, half of their classes is learning how to use their powers. Just, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but not really. But like, you know, just from ZA, remember when the books first beginning, Orion is showing them how to like do contraceptives with their powers,
Yeah.
or you know what I'm saying, or make phthalates. Like, I don't
Yeah.
feel like that's a spoiler, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's just, I don't know, that we're reading them at that time though, like, just to give perspective about where they're at life, and everybody's like, you know, humping like rabbits.
Yeah.
I know we don't like to talk about this person often, but we have to. Cindy Lou,
Mm.
what were you thinking about this book?
So obviously I've read it before, but I was so excited. Every time I read it, I'm excited when we get back to the point to where Dante actually finds out about like her shrine and all of that stuff, because I don't understand how everybody else is not seeing this, like not seeing the stuff that she's doing, like how she planted the drugs on Elise, like that. It was obvious. And obviously Gabriel was warming up to her more at that time, but I don't get how nobody else saw that it was being manipulated but him. And taking
Especially Ryder.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think the other person we could probably guarantee that, like, if Elise said that happened, he would agree, is Leon. But Leon is so obtuse. I don't think he would have been watching for it if he felt like she was in real, unless she felt like she was in danger, i.e. the Eugene situation. But I think, if I recall correctly, that's the class Leon goes to sleep in. So he probably wasn't watching at all. But Ryder is always kind of
like watching their backs.
And I feel like, I don't think Leon feels that way because he's not really at war. You know what I'm saying? Like he's for lack of a better term, neutral territory.
Yeah.
But I always am kind of taken aback with Ryder not realizing that Cindy Lou is doing stuff with him having like the mind control type of situation. Also, they talk in the mind a lot. Like when she was going to see Nightshade and she's like, give me some lust, something lusty. Yeah. Like he'd be all too eager for that, but I like Ryder. I like Ryder.
Obviously. Were you surprised by how Gabriel reacted when he found out who Elise was and why she was there?
I don't know what old freaking Greek mythology tale it is. The dude, I guess, that's supposed to sit on that rock and have his bladder pulled out every day. But Gabriel reminds me of that character. Like he be, everything he does is to his own detriment and never makes sense, in my opinion, throughout this whole series when it comes to Elise. Like, you know, kind of when we talked about last time, how he basically told her she was a bitch, and when he came on to her and she was like, she had been sitting there with her friends minding her business.
Yeah.
I think he's very hot and cold. So in turn, his actions tend to be real
kind of all over the place.
Yeah. As a fellow Libra, I understand why Elise kind of just be like, leave me alone until you figure it out. Like, I can't keep guessing for you what you meant versus what you said versus what you did. Like, it's too much going on. And I think he's kind of reconciling his feelings a little bit. Not even just with her, because, you know, like, for lack of a better term, he didn't know if his parents are his parents, if they ever loved him. The only person he thinks loves him is Bill. So that's his own. I think he's still working through a lot of his stuff too. And also with her being an emotional bad case herself, I don't think she can work through his feelings too. She just doesn't have
like capacity on top of everything. Yeah. And I get that.
So I just think I don't know. He's especially at the beginning of this series, I found Gabriel almost unbearable.
Yeah.
Like irritating, for lack of a better
The
term,
hot
I
and
guess.
cold and like all over the place, and you want me 1 minute. Yeah, I understand that.
And I'm
And he's
secretly watching
arrogant
your
because
back.
he's
Like,
arrogant because he is the most powerful, but at the same time, he just throws that out there all the time. Like, I can beat you if I want to. So I get that. I don't know that I was surprised by how he reacted, but I feel like it could have gone either way though. Like he could have. I don't think in any world he would have called her out and like let everybody else know who she was, but he could have blown up on her for it, or because like you said, he's always all over the place. So it could have been a 50-50 when he
why
found out.
why don't you think it was or why do you think it's uncharacteristic for him to quote unquote call her out?
Because I don't think that he wants people in his business enough to do that. Like, why were you even looking into her in the first place? I feel like he would have had to answer too many questions had he told anybody else who she was. Like, how did you even come across this? And I feel like at this point in the book, he's always about himself right now and protecting himself and Bill, like you
Agreed.
said. So
How are you feeling about Nightshade? Let's check in about our other important people.
So in this book, we find out that Nightshade is working with the Black Card, but we do find out that she's basically, so she's a therapist, but she's also a Cyclops or Siren? Siren. So sirens, both of them can alter your emotions and things. And she's using her abilities as both a therapist and a siren to draw people and lead them to suicidal thoughts, because that is what the Black Card leader, for some reason, we don't know why yet, but is wanting people to do. They have to willingly give up their lives and willingly give up their powers to him. So she's basically baiting people who she thinks may be susceptible to it already, may have had a hard life already, and using her
less
abilities
family.
for that. Yeah.
Less family. Because when Elise went to Grayshine, the boy that they were talking about didn't really have a family that would come looking for him or anything like that. He would just not show up to school. So she is stalking her. But I want to give credit where credit is due. Nightshade is still noticing what Elise's emotions are. Even if Elise doesn't want that to be found out, it is still being noticed. She's still picking
and
up.
Ryder too. Yeah. I feel like she's good at her job, but that's part of why she becomes so dangerous, I feel like.
Oh, also, speaking of sirens, I'm trying to decide which one I want to go with first. Since we're talking about Ryder, I'll do that. We find out Ryder was having a relationship with one of his teachers, and it just goes to speak to perspectives, because Ryder thought he was in control of that situation because the teacher, though he was sleeping with her, was causing problems for Dante. We find this out through Gareth's journals, but also through Ryder speaking to Nightshade and Elise overhearing it. That she was failing stuff for him or messing. If Dante did some air manipulations that was like tested or something like that, it's not going right for him. It's not, and it's all because this teacher is sleeping with Ryder. And Nightshade, again, we don't like her, but she is good at her job. Kind of lets him know that, like, you say you're the powerful one, but she manipulated you, too. Like, that's why she's power shamed. And I feel like we've covered power shamed, but for the sake of, we didn't. If you're in a position of authority and you utilize that authority over people, I don't mean like you overpower them physically, but if you manipulate them specifically, it looks like in a relationship is kind of what I got from it. You're power shamed. The whole society looks at you differently. They don't interact with you. Some people see you as clocks.
Yeah.
But they don't interact with you at all in order to just let you know that, like, because everybody's faith, the power that you get in this world, like the leaderboard, is fought for. You're not fighting fairly. And that's pretty much the only type of quote unquote fair that they ask for, that you just don't manipulate power that's not physical power, for lack of a better term.
I actually think it's good for Ryder that Nightshade is pointing this stuff out, because I don't feel like he's actually opened up about him being kidnapped when he was younger and everything that led to, because I feel like there are a lot of areas in his life that he plays with fire, knowing what his past is. Like, for him to even consider that relationship, knowing that an older woman could possibly be a trigger, someone of authority could possibly be a trigger, those types of things are still very much so factors. He's just kind of shut this part of himself off to not even think about that. And so, to give her credit, I do feel like she's bringing certain things out in both of them that is needed, but it just sucks that it comes at,
malicious
who she is and what she's doing. Yeah.
I'd also like to point out that I think Ryder is a person that needs to find power in areas he lost power. And that's probably what he's doing, but he doesn't realize the toxicity of that. We also have, back to my favorite, because my favorite, Leon. Leon finds in somebody's locker a list of Elise's schedule, and he starts following it to see what it is at first. Or maybe it has Elise's name on it. I don't remember the exact details of why
it has her initials.
Yeah, it has her initials. So he starts following it and realizes it's her schedule. So he starts following her to find who's following her.
Yeah.
And we find out it's Eugene Dipper. We've talked about Eugene. Eugene is our underdog. Just want to see my man shine, even though he be sleeping in people's drawers and stealing panties and stuff. He don't mean no harm. He's just a rat. A Tiberian rat? I think
Tiberian rat shifter.
Rat. Yeah, I think he's a rat. And poor Bryce be giving Eugene hell. Eugene that had the chair stuck to him. I think this
I was going to say that, the chair.
With the super glue. But it's not malicious why Eugene is following Elise. He's following her because he wants to become her source, because she would have to protect him. And I feel like Elise thinks she's void of emotions, but obviously the way she interacts with the guys tells us something different. Or even with Lainey, but also how she responds to basically Eugene stalking her. By the way, when Leon caught Eugene in his Nemean lion form, all I could think about was Scar at the beginning.
I know. I think that was on purpose. I think they did it on purpose because of Ryder talking about Lion King so much.
But did you know, okay, off topic, but on topic, you know how on Hercules, when he poses for that picture, is Scar over him?
Yeah.
Do you know but not just that. You know, in like Greek mythology, he killed a Nemean lion, and Nemean lions are supposed to have impenetrable skin. So that makes it even funnier on a whole nother level,
That's funny.
So that they did that. But I did see the whole Lion King thing when he said, "I'm a monkey's uncle."
Yeah. When I was first reading this, I didn't know if it was somebody stalking her or if he was about to find out that she was watching these people. And I don't get how, even though he was trying to find the stalker, I don't understand. And like you said, Leon is just kind of happy-go-lucky, doesn't have a reason to pay attention to all that. But I don't understand how he doesn't pick up on what Elise is doing by trying to find the stalker who has been following her this whole time. Like the fact that she has calculated times on when she goes where, who she's interacting with, like all of that.
Because he's not looking at Elise. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like when you're in a bad relationship, you're not looking for what you're not looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's not. He was looking for literally looking to see who was watching her. He wasn't watching her because he needed to see who was watching her.
Yeah, I guess I'm too observant for that, because in any situation, you're watching out for all involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when he was like, well, Elise does stay at the library this late, so let me lay here, and then he ends up going to sleep. But, like, he has to pay attention to Elise because this person is paying attention to Elise. He's even looking at where she's sitting in the I'm about to call it the commons, in the in the cafeteria, like all kinds of stuff. So I know, right?
You took us
But
all the way back to school, didn't you?
I know I don't even know. I don't even know where that came from, but you know, he is watching her, but it's like he's not picking up on the fact that she's also watching people, and then somebody obviously is watching her. So it's like a whole thing. So, but he's
But
also good at what he does, and so him being in the family that he's in and him working with the gangs that he works with, you know, he has to be calculated in a certain way, but it's like he's not when it comes to just every day. And I don't know how the two can disconnect.
he's too relaxed sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I think
Yeah.
he cares about what he cares about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
I
Like
love
he
Leon,
can,
but it's just like, really
I
though?
think he can only focus on what he can focus on. But that goes back to like, well, back what I was saying about Elise, the way she handled Eugene in that whole situation was like, yeah, you can be my source, but I'm good. I got two, Ryder and Dante. And it would mean more if you kind of stood up for it. But what I can do for you is I can be your friend, which kind of
Yeah.
changed Eugene's whole life, for
Yeah,
lack of a better term, because Nightshade is working on Eugene too,
Yeah.
driving him to depression, to kill himself as well. So I think she's kind of like a lot of characters that we read where they think they're void of emotion when they're selective. For like,
Yeah.
I feel like they're selective of who receives their emotion. Because even the fact that not another woman going on a revenge part for her brother, but
Yeah.
you know this whole elaborate, quote unquote, get back for her brother.
Yeah.
That she can't. It doesn't matter what she does not get her brother back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with him being dead, there's no undoing that. Even the justice you get isn't what you want.
Yeah. And you know, even with her trying to reconnect with her mom, even though her mom was never really, you know, emotionally connected to them, it's like she's still trying to hang on to something. She not only that, but also with Professor Titan, her attachment to him, like you see different glimpses of it in her, even though she's trying to just be attachment free. I just feel like that's not who she is. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of people who are super close to their siblings or have a certain protection, you know, relationship with their siblings, I don't feel like they ever can be.
Yeah. Speaking of Titan, I think he plays an important role in this book because he's one of the only other people to validate her after Greyshawn basically said, "Oh, I can't believe you because Gabriel said it didn't happen." You know what I'm saying? So she has like two in her corner, one not in her corner. Even with Ryder, he's kind of on the fence, and I'm not sure she even told Dante. I don't really recall that. Do you?
I don't think she told him in. So you remember that Dante was the first person she ran into when she finally got back to campus after the whole situation of being kidnapped. So she did tell him, but I don't think she went into detail about everything that happened. Like she told him she was drugged. She told him that, you know, it happened in the woods and stuff. But then him and Gabriel start fighting and she ends up running off. So I don't think they ever really have a full conversation about it. So I want to go back to something you said though, because we find out that Greyshawn Nightshade was a part of the Black Card and is leading people to commit suicide. But at the same time, Elise is going to tell her what's going on. And she's acting like she doesn't believe her, knowing that she's in on all of this.
She told Nightshade?
Yeah, I think they ended up all talking about it because, you know, because she ended up having to go to counseling because of the drugs and everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she keeps telling people she's not doing this. This is what really happens.
And I think Greyshawn went back and like relayed the story even after because Titan said he would call the FIB. Oh, I said it correctly that time. The FIB on her behalf.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny, but like while Nightshade is super cognizant of what power shaming is, I don't think that she knows she's a victim of whatever the person in charge is doing to her. Like it would kind of be the same thing. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of manipulating her very much in a power, because a lot of the stuff she does seems scary.
Yeah.
She seems like a bitch, but not a killer. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, she seems like she's doing it because she is like she doesn't have a choice. Like somebody's making her do this. And the fact that she doesn't even know who it is because they're using magic to conceal not only their faces, but their voice, like everything about them, their stature, everything. But that makes
That
me
is some
wonder
of the
how
cool
these
and
people get.
magic in the world.
It is, but I wonder how these people get so drawn in the first place, if that is the case. Like, how does this person become their boss and you don't even know anything about, you don't know where they come from, you don't know what they do, you don't know what they can offer you.
She
Like,
might
I
have been
don't
a
know
target at one point. If she might have
yeah,
been, I think that kind of helps narrow down the investigation to say that it's somebody who knows what her powers are and how good she is at it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? To say, oh, you're who I want and you're close in proximity is what,
yeah,
like, it just happened. It's not like she got 4 elements. Like,
yeah.
it's not like she's I think it was proximity.
It makes me wonder how long this organization has been going on, and how many people they've, I don't know if they ever
We're going to
say it
say
in the
at least
series, if
2
I remember.
years.
Yeah,
We're going
I
to say
know
at least 2
that.
years with Garrett's situation.
Yeah.
But who knows how long she's been a part of it, because I don't recall Garrett speaking about her. But we still have 3 books to go. So what did you think of old Sal in this book? I'm not gonna lie, she pissed me off, but you first.
I was gonna say she's always cringy, but a lot of it, because we already know the situation from Garrett's point of view, I don't feel like we ever have an opportunity to even have any sympathy or anything with old Sal. Um, Thankfully, I feel like Elise understands that old Sal, even though she may feel, sometimes you have like family members or friends, and it's like there are things that you don't necessarily like about them, but that's still family though. Like that's just who they are. I feel like Elise feels like this about old Sal. Like she knows that she's manipulative and she knows that she manipulated her mom all those years. But it's just like, well, that's just old Sal. She doesn't think anything of it up until, later on. I don't feel like we ever had a chance to have that sympathy or that attachment to her because we already knew what happened. Like we already knew the real story.
I was a little bit more triggered by her this book, only because when Elise found out that, because she found Garrett's bank account when she found the phone, so she found out that he was paying Osal, but she didn't know why. So when she asked Osal about it, Osal was like, "Oh, well, your mom got into a debt and she was gonna sell you." When that was, Elise and her mom's relationship is so strained, it literally cannot bear the weight of
Right.
anything else. So it just kind of pissed me off a little bit because,
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, they're never really able to redeem that. You know what I'm saying? Like it, and those are like small, like, yes, her mom did get the debt, but as best Elise a mom can, she did say she doesn't want to do this. Like, this isn't.
Yeah.
And then on top of her being a weaker person, she was manipulated with somebody who had done this to her for so long that I'm just gonna assume Osal had a stronger gift. You know what I mean? Like a stronger gift, or even if she's not stronger, a better idea of how to manipulate her than anybody else. Because part of me thinks she lent the money with the intention to always get back to with Elise on the hook. You know what I mean? Like, I think she's that kind of risky of a type
because
of
every time Elise pops up, old Sal talks about how she could be making a lot of money there and like all kinds of stuff. To Elise's credit, she understands that even if her mom did make this deal with old Sal, even if her mom did create the debt for herself, old Sal could have easily forgiven the debt and not even put that on the table or entertain that idea, even if it had come from,
or put that pressure on her brother, because I think Elise is kind of suspecting like this money is what got my brother killed.
Yeah,
it had to be this money.
Yeah, even though it leads her to Gabriel, and we know that Gabriel did something that night that he's ashamed of as it relates to Gareth, but it leads her in the direction to try to see if he was the one that did it because of the money that he was blackmailing him to get. I don't even know if she knows at this point how much he was giving to her.
2,000.
I just know
2,000 auras.
I know, but does she know that? I know that she saw the $1,000 go out, and she saw that possibly it could have been more, but I don't know if she knows how much he was paying her. He was paying old Sal.
Yes, because she saw the one payment. Only one payment got drafted from the account, so she ended up telling her how much it was when she went in there and asked her about it. That's how I know that lady lies about everything. A good liar mixes the truth and a lie. And she,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? She mostly gave truth, stuff that people, unless they hear you say it, aren't going to invalidate. You know, like Garrett's not there. Her mom's locked up. Who else does she have to ask?
I do feel like Elise needed it. And the reason I said that is because she was able to finally get in touch with her mom. And that kind of, I feel like, sealed their fates as far as their relationship. Because, again,
and she didn't get to talk to her mom either.
No, but her mom ended up confirming that that was a deal that was going on, and she made Elise feel bad because she was like, maybe if you had taken it and just done it, then we wouldn't be in this situation. As far as Gareth being gone now, so I think Elise kind of, because I think she was still trying to give her mom some redeeming qualities up until this point,
or make her sick, kind of treat her like she's sick. So who do you feel like in this book anyway she's most compatible with? I feel like the obvious choice is Leon, but we could talk about the other three guys too, only because of how much not arguing that they have. The only argument they have is about his aggressiveness towards Eugene. I'm not saying that just because he's my favorite. I'm just saying specifically this book, it's not that.
Yeah. But I feel like in this book, you finally see, because there's no bullying involved, there's nobody trying to deny that they're attracted to her, like none of that. I think you finally see how each part of her goes with each one of them. Like she has different parts of her that meshes well with all of them in different ways. So I don't know if there's anybody that I feel I'm always going to say Leon, but because the only reason I say that is because I feel like Leon sees her in full. Like he doesn't think Dante thinks she's a good girl. I think that Ryder thinks that she's a little bit
good for everybody,
like
but bad just for him.
Yeah. But I feel in Gabriel, I don't know what he got going on.
I don't think he sees her.
I don't think he even really cares. He just knows that he saw this vision. This is who I'm supposed to be with. So I don't think he even takes the time to get to know.
Yeah, I think it's on purpose. He doesn't see her. He doesn't want to see her because he doesn't want to see what that could mean. It's similar, but a little bit different to how Dante doesn't see her.
Yeah.
You know? And it's weird to me that Dante always thinks of her as like a good girl, but maybe he thinks of her like a good girl who wants to be like bad, because nothing about Elise does that for me. She's could be girl,
but I think Dante comes from a traditional family, and fortunately but unfortunately, a lot of times where you have traditional families where the mom is really like the backbone kind of the family, and she still is for him. All she can do no wrong to him. You know what I'm saying? Like his mom can do no wrong. I feel like he feels the same way about Elise because that's somebody he's interested in and can see himself with long term. So I'm gonna say Leon as far as that, but again, that's because I always feel like Leon is seeing her in full. He sees like from her still in the car for him, but also the fact, but also the fact that she actually took the time to even do that for him because she saw where he was in that moment of vulnerability. You know, so I always feel, and he's trying, he hasn't given up his Mindy's, but he is trying to actually be the one to do things for people as opposed to making her do them for him, even though that's really what his order kind of calls for.
Yeah, and burning toast.
Yeah. I mean, the whole picnic, didn't you put hot sauce on top of peppers on top? He doesn't know how to do anything, but he's really trying for her because I think he sees that she's just not the type to be super submissive, like what his order would want.
Retrospectively, since you said that and how Dante sees the world, maybe he isn't seeing Elise how we think he's seeing her. Maybe he views those things that his mom does as strength, and she just happens to be the strongest woman that he met. You know what I mean? Like, like very much like how you said the backbone type thing, but also just he is like the person in charge of his pack, even though he's a dragon, and it is unconventional. So he probably wants somebody traditionally unconventional. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of things that he has, Elise is lacking. That I think family wise, he is the only person that could provide her with family. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Leon has a family, but he's still trying to impress his dad, and his brother is little brother in him all the time, you know, one up in him. Ryder doesn't have what Ryder would probably consider closest thing to family their loyalty is really based on action. It's not like Dante with where it's love. Is we
Yeah.
swore into a gang, you the gang leader, but
Yeah.
should another
And
one
Elise calls
come?
him out on that, about the fact that because he tries to say, was it Ryder or was it Gabriel? One of them tried to say basically they come from the same background. And Elise was like, but you really don't, because in your situation, they're just sworn to you, but they don't really have a real loyalty and allegiance to you specifically. It's more to the gang, where in Dante's, they're really family. They love each other. They have a family dynamic where, they really look out for each other no matter what happens with the gang. Like even we saw Dante trying to save his cousin who killed himself on the first scene of the last book.
And he said he didn't even like him.
Yeah, but that's still his cousin, and he just really wanted to, even after he pushed him out of the gang, he was still trying to make sure he was good. So yeah.
Oh, another thing I think is important to bring up is Bryce. Bryce has been stepping a little bit out of line, not just with Elise, because that's a given. They're both vampires. They are territorial towards each other. But when Elise basically accused Ryder to his face about making Killblaze, because she broke into his room.
And we find out that Ryder is immune to any type of poison. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know why. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like Ryder though when he was like, oh, when he named everything off, and he was like, oh, you would have killed me, She put some, I was like, yeah, she would have killed you. How dare she? But I think that kind of proved his point too. You a little dark like me. But Bryce is getting outside of himself because when she breaks the wards and she gets caught for breaking into his room, he's like, you're not gonna do nothing about that. I think he stops Elise on a couple of occasions too, kind of like you're not supposed to be here type stuff. So we're just kind of seeing that. And I think the last person we should probably mention is Gareth. Everything he's going through. Everybody keeps putting him in super compromising positions. The most compromising, though, Dante figures out that the teacher is working against him, the one that Ryder is sleeping with, and he wants to know why. He tells Gareth to get proof, and the proof that Gareth gets is that he's sleeping with Ryder. He makes a whole video of them, boing, boing, boing. But
boing, boing. Yeah.
But he sends it to Dante, and ultimately this makes it to Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's why Ryder in present time or currently in our series is speaking to Nightshade about power dynamics, what we were referencing earlier. But in that same hand, per Ryder, Gareth is tasked with finding out who posted the video and found him. So Garrett's always kind of in between two worlds, for lack of a better term. I think we also found out, Gabriel broke into the Kipling's cache and found out all the videos pretty much that Dante is keeping on everybody. And we found out that he even had one on Gareth, even though Gareth was his quote unquote friend. And Gareth also alludes to like never being able to trust anybody. Dante alludes to never being able to trust anybody.
And even tells Elise that he doesn't.
Yeah, and it's kind of implied that something happened between Gareth and Dante that made him not trust him.
Yeah.
So I feel like we covered everybody. You have any more to add?
No, I just want to, I know you mentioned that about Gareth. It's still very funny to me, even though they're completely different people as far as personality, that they were both caught in between these four people, because he had great relationships with all of them. Sure. Yeah, he didn't want to pick sides for different reasons. And honestly, it may have even been more lucrative business-wise and money-wise for him to pick a side, but he refused to do so. The same way that Elise is doing, obviously for different reasons, but still. And I don't know if it would have changed his fate had he chosen a side. I just don't. It's just funny to me, like I said, that they both are kind of, and I wonder if it's because of their upbringing that they just don't want to trust people fully like that. I don't really know.
I think it's a couple of things. Gareth kind of said at one point that he didn't want to do it because they had made the promise. Remember, they made a promise to get out of there, and I guess didn't want the anchor of it. Yeah. But also you got to remember for Gareth, much like Elise, but in a different way, he had already been in school for years, and the gangs were there, but they weren't as big of a deal until Ryder and Dante came a year under him. So
Yeah.
he had already kind of established that, like, I don't want to have to do this, especially for nobody younger than me. Also, you know, something I always think about when she says she saluted at somebody, and I know Gareth does it too. Why they don't never like make hairs on the back of their neck tingle or nothing like that. Regardless of it being half siblings or not, they're gonna. You have, you know, like it's traits
there are
amongst
different
you and your
mannerisms
siblings.
and
Yeah,
but was it Leon that actually kind of saw it one time, like playing pitball or something? There was something that he saw, and it wasn't just the salute, but something that was said or something where he actually was like, I used to have a friend that did this. But again, he's so he's so unaware of things or intentionally that he doesn't even think anything of it.
But I also think he's kind of overwhelmed in a good way. You know what I'm saying? We just talked about him having to fix sandwiches and not poison her and stuff. Yeah. He's so focused on impressing her and changing that it gets his attention. He'd be like, but I'm doing this. Let me finish. You know what I'm saying? Like, it make him turn his head a little bit. Then it's like, oh, you know, like maybe I saw that at the corner of my eye. But yeah. I like this. I like this one. I think I enjoyed book 2 more than 1. What about you?
I don't know. To be honest, this whole series to me was pretty much the same. And I think part of it is because the action was happening all the way through. Obviously, this book, we see another war starting to unfold. We learn more about the Black Card and stuff like that. But the action, like I said, was still there throughout the whole thing. So this was still like I think this whole series was probably a 5 out of 5 for me.
You know what? You know what we didn't talk about? Yes, Ryder let Dante go after Felix falsely claimed he needed him at a club, but also Dante gave her a lap dance to Pony that'll never not be funny. In the private room. But also after they basically had like a blowout fight where everybody's they're not even out of power. Their orders have been suppressed. Also, Darkmoor Penitentiary, the order suppressant. It sounded like a brand new thing, and I just feel like we have to talk about that more. But once they got out, they still had to fight Felix.
Yeah.
So Felix, he actually presented himself as the enemy at that point. Yeah. When he thought Dante was too weak to fight. Thank God she was a vampire.
What I always questioned in this was the fact that Ryder said he was never there for Dante. He was actually there for Felix. But it does feel like Felix set this up. So did he know that Ryder was going to come for him, or had he already called Ryder to come out there? Like, I think those are questions I hadn't figured out.
I think he set it up with the intention being for Dante, and Ryder took the opportunity saying, I'm going to get you instead.
Yeah.
You know, like, because while he doesn't like Dante, they do often to themselves, not to anybody else, say there are things that they respect about one another, or, you know, for lack of a better term, admire for one another. And I think disloyalty, as we kind of like can tell from Garrett's reaction to how he's treating them, disloyalty is something that both seems to uber trigger them.
Yeah.
So like that's, I think that's kind of where that comes from. What are you looking forward to in 3?
A couple of things. I actually am looking forward to learning more about Dante's family. I know that we see her, we meet Rosalie, which we'll see more of. We meet his mom and we see that dynamic, but now that everything is happening with Felix, obviously we have to know more about that situation. But I think I'm just looking forward to her in those relationships developing and who she's going to choose, who she's going to rule out, because at this point I feel like she's only ruled out Leon, and I don't even think that's completely, that's just kind of a internal thing, but she's still trying to find her brother's killer. And so it's interesting. I would be interested to see who she rules out first in the next book.
To me, if we had to pick a mate today, it would still be Leon. I think, kind of like you said, he would still be the only one who sees her fully. So if we had to pick her being a mate with somebody, probably just Leon. Only, and it's not based off of me already knowing what's going to happen in the next book or anything like that, as much as it's compatibility-wise, he's the only one who gives Elise space to be herself, but also wants to know her. You know what I mean? Like he wants to know things about her. He's not he's not trying to change her.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is trying to like, you know, kind of, oh, be this way, join this gang. And it's kind of weird because she's very dead set about, I'm not doing this, I am doing this, this is who I am, this is not who I am. But it's
Yeah.
like Leon's the only one who hears her.
So in the next episode, we will be looking at Vicious Fae. And then we will also probably be taking another break with another one of our mini series. So we'll have to discuss that and figure out which mini series we want to do, or at least mini book we want to do to take a break in between then. And you have any closing remarks or comments or feelings or somebody you hate in this book?
No, but I do want to just kind of announce, and it's not like anything crazy, but the sisters are coming out with a new Kingdom in Solaria book. So we will be in Solaria for a while talking about differences. So we hope that you continue this journey on with us. It'll be clearly long and intrusive, but fun.
And let us know if you want us to kind of teeter-totter, because we did. I mean, we didn't start chronologically in order. And some of the books still are not written in chronological order. So, you know, if you guys do want to kind of take a peek at the future in some of the other books, I mean, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, it would break up the monotony for us. So we're cool with that. Also, there are novellas, and we'll figure out how we want to do novellas, because there's like 8.5, which is like a 300,000 word book. But then there's all the other novellas that's like four chapters. So, you know, so we'll just figure out how that works. But definitely, if you guys have any comments or questions, tell us who your favorite in the book is. We'd love to hear it. All right, it's been too literal. Y'all have a good night.